I remember that Saturday like it was yesterday. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass. Kids were riding bikes. And I was halfway through washing my car when the bass started shaking the pavement. At first, I thought someone was having a small barbecue. But when I saw the line of cars parked halfway up the cul-de-sac and strangers carrying beer coolers across my lawn, I knew this wasn't just a friendly get-together. It was Karen's party. Karen, our self-appointed HOA enforcer. The same woman who fined me $50 because my trash cans were visible for more than 15 minutes. The irony, she lived right across from me. Now, her yard was filled with loud music, drunk guests, and a bounce house that looked like it was about to collapse. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But when her guests started using my driveway to park, and a few of them stumbled onto my lawn, spilling beer on my flower bed, I snapped. I walked over, keeping my tone as calm as I could. "Hey folks, mind moving your cars? You're blocking my driveway." One of the guys laughed. "Karen said it's fine, bro. We're all HOA here." "Oh, I'm in the HOA too. And no rule says Karen's guests get to treat the neighborhood like Coachella." So I went straight to Karen, who was holding a glass of white wine and lecturing someone about fence paint colors. "Karen," I said, "your guests are parked on my property. I need them gone." She gave me that tight, passive-aggressive smile, the kind that could curdle milk. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just for a few hours. Besides, you're part of the community, aren't you?" I bit back a laugh. "Community doesn't mean free parking on my grass." The smirk vanished. "You're always so difficult, aren't you?" she hissed, before turning away like I was a mosquito buzzing around her Chardonnay. That was it. I took a deep breath, marched back, and told every guest whose car was touching my property line to move it. Now, by the time I was done, half the party was grumbling, and Karen's face was redder than her wine. She stormed toward me, voice sharp and shaking. "You can't just kick people out. You're not in charge here." I shrugged. "Neither are you." She pointed a trembling finger at me. "Fine, let's see what the police have to say about this." And before I could even reply, she was dialing 911, right there in her heels and sun hat, yelling about trespassing and harassment. I actually laughed out loud because I knew once the cops showed up, the truth was going to turn this party upside down. 15 minutes later, the flashing red and blue lights painted our quiet street like a crime scene. The music cut instantly, and people started pretending to clean up, as if hiding beer cans would erase the chaos. Karen met the officers halfway down the driveway, waving her arms dramatically. "Thank God you're here. He's been harassing my guests and threatening to tow their cars." I was standing by my driveway, arms crossed, watching the whole performance like a bad community theater play. One of the cops, a tall guy with mirrored sunglasses, turned to me. "Sir, can we talk to you for a moment?" "Of course," I said, trying not to roll my eyes. I assume Karen didn't mention her guests parking on my property. The officer glanced toward the cars, one of which was still slightly on my grass. "That yours?" "Nope," I said. "And neither are any of the others." Karen marched up, still clutching her wine glass. "He's lying. They were invited. This is community property." That made even the second officer snort. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "driveways and lawns are private property. You can't authorize your guests to park there." Her jaw dropped. But I'm on the HOA board." I couldn't resist. "Doesn't make you the mayor, Karen." The cop almost smiled. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask your guests to move their vehicles immediately. And please keep the noise down. We've had multiple complaints. Multiple. Meaning I wasn't the only one sick of her nonsense." Karen's face went pale, then flushed bright red. "You're taking his side. He's the problem. He's always complaining about me." The taller cop spoke firmly. "Ma'am, if the noise continues or anyone refuses to move, you could be cited. Let's not make this more complicated, okay?" Karen glared at me like she was burning my soul with her mind. "You're going to regret this," she spat, storming off as her guests scrambled to move their cars. By the time the cops left, the party had died down. The street was quiet again. But I knew her. Karen didn't lose quietly. Sure enough, the next morning I found a bright yellow envelope taped to my door. Notice of HOA violation. Apparently, I'd violated community harmony by threatening board members and interfering with an approved social gathering. I laughed out loud. She was really going to play this game. I picked up the notice, grabbed my phone, and dialed a number I never thought I'd use. The HOA compliance hotline. If Karen wanted to play by the book, I'd make sure that book crushed her. When the HOA compliance officer answered, I expected the usual. Polite tone, slow response, "We'll look into it," that meant we'll ignore it. But instead I got Martha. Martha was new to the HOA, firm but fair, and most importantly, not one of Karen's friends. "Mr. Taylor," she said, after I explained what happened, "you're saying a board member hosted an unauthorized event that disturbed multiple residents and misused private property?" "Exactly. And then tried to fine me for cleaning up her mess." There was a pause. "That's serious. I'll open an investigation right away." Music to my ears. Within a day, I saw her car, a small grey sedan, parked outside Karen's house. She spent almost an hour there. I couldn't hear what they said, but I could see it. Karen waving her arms, pointing toward my house, her signature wine glass now replaced with a mug of something much stronger. Later that week, Martha knocked on my door, clipboard in hand, calm expression. "Mr. Taylor, thank you for your patience. I'd like to verify a few things." I walked her around the lawn, showing her the damaged flower bed, the tire marks, and the few crushed garden lights I hadn't even noticed until then. She took photos, made notes, and nodded slowly. "It appears your complaint is valid," she said. "Several residents also reported noise and trespassing from that event. HOA bylaws don't allow private gatherings of that scale without board approval." I smiled. "And who's supposed to approve them?" "The board president," she replied. Which was Karen. Oh, the irony. That evening, I caught sight of Karen pacing outside on her phone, voice raised enough for half the block to hear. "I am the HOA. You can't investigate me. This is harassment." Her husband stood a few steps away, arms crossed, looking like a man who had lived this argument too many times. For the next few days, I stayed quiet. I went about my business, trimmed the hedges, waved politely to neighbors. But behind the scenes, things were moving fast. An HOA-wide meeting was called for the following Friday. A mandatory attendance notice went out to all residents. The subject line read, "Misuse of authority and violation of HOA bylaws, emergency review." When I saw that email, I actually laughed, because I already knew who the misuse of authority referred to. That Friday, as the neighborhood gathered under the community gazebo, Karen walked in wearing her usual blazer and fake confidence, pretending nothing was wrong. But when Martha started reading the report aloud, Karen's smile vanished completely. The room went quiet. Every sentence was another nail in her self-built throne. Unauthorized event, property damage, false violation notice, abuse of power. And just as the tension hit its peak, Martha looked up and said, "The board will now vote on removal." Karen froze. "You can't remove me." But she could, and she would. The air at that HOA meeting was so thick with tension you could almost slice it. Neighbors shifted in their chairs, whispering. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked way too excited. Karen stood at the front, arms crossed, doing that tight-lipped smirk she always used when she was cornered. "Let's be realistic," she said sharply. "This is nothing but a personal attack. You're taking the word of one neighbor who clearly has a vendetta against me." Martha didn't flinch. "Multiple residents submitted written complaints, Mrs. Jenkins, including photographic evidence." Karen blinked. "Photographic?" I raised my hand slightly. "Those would be mine." The photo slideshow began. My crushed flowers, tire tracks, a car bumper parked halfway into my driveway, and even a short video clip I'd taken on my doorbell camera of the chaos that night. The murmurs turned to gasps. Someone whispered, "She fined me for leaving a rake out once." Karen's voice wobbled. "This doesn't prove anything. I've served this community for years." Martha's tone stayed calm but firm. "And that's exactly why this board must hold you accountable. Abuse of authority undermines trust in the HOA." Then she turned to the board members seated beside her. "All in favor of removal from position, pending permanent expulsion from the HOA board." Hands went up. 1, 2, 3. Then all of them. Karen's jaw fell open. "You can't do this. This is my neighborhood." "No," Martha said softly. "It belongs to everyone." Karen stormed out of the gazebo, heels crunching on the gravel, muttering about lawyers and conspiracies. But no one followed her. Not even her usual group of HOA loyalists. A week later, we all got an official email. Notice of board change. Effective immediately. Karen Jenkins has been removed from her position as HOA president due to repeated violations of community regulations. 2 lines below that, I saw something even better. New interim president, Martha Reynolds. I leaned back in my chair and couldn't help smiling. A few days later, I saw Karen's for sale sign go up. Her house, the one she once bragged was the model property of the neighborhood, stood quiet, curtains drawn. She left without saying goodbye to anyone. When the moving truck finally rolled away, I walked outside, took a deep breath of the peaceful silence, and watered my once trampled flowers. It felt good, not just because she was gone, but because for the first time in years, the neighborhood felt like a community again. And as I set down my watering can, I couldn't resist whispering to myself, "Guess I finally got Karen evicted." Which moment shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dramatic story, make sure to like the video. And don't forget to subscribe to Karen Edition for more jaw-dropping HOA and Karen dramas every week. Next part coming, son.